Welcome back to the Already Dated podcast, where in this week we are going to talk about rip-off games. So games that didn't really do as well as their predecessors, or games that were spiritual successors, games that were inspired by a different game in a different series, and tried to do something better than the game that they were inspired by.
Awesome. All right, so rip-off games. I have a hot one.
Yes, you've been loaded with this one. I've been curious to hear.
I'm loaded with the biggest rip-off of all time, of the great Gianna Sisters and Super Mario Bros.
You're starting with that one?
Oh,
okay.
I'm starting with the hottest potato that I have here.
Sure.
For me, this is like the most shameless as shameless can get on a ripoff. Basically, if you took Super Mario Bros. And carbon copied it,
yeah. This will have to be the one example where I'm gonna have to put like images of it on screen, because I looked at images and it's basically like Chinese hack versions of rip off.
The levels and like this is a true thing. The levels and enemies are identical to Super Mario Bros.
Mm-hmm.
And like all they did was just change Mario and Luigi to the Gianna sisters, and made them have long curly hair, so you could see they were women because of obviously the pixel art. And they changed the Goombas to owls, and just kind of changed the enemies around. You got it. The gameplay was completely exactly the same. And fun story, Nintendo called up the company right after they sent it out to stores and urged them not to sell this because it would lead to a legal action.
Well, Nintendo is very famous with legal action.
Yeah, but like Nintendo is very protective of its IPs.
Yes.
But
more than anyone.
But in like later on, Nintendo eased up on them, and they weren't allowed to release it until 2011. For the Nintendo DS.
Yeah, you're right. I see it here.
Yeah. They were allowed to later, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that it's a full-on carbon copy of Nintendo's IP. And they should have.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a straight-up ROM hack, like they had.
Oh yeah, like
the actual ROM of Mario Bros. And just went in and just changed the sprite and called it a day.
Yeah, literally, I think they changed the like contrast and gamma and stuff like that on it to just change the coloration, and then they literally just put in like curly hair on the bros and changed their clothes. Like, that's it.
And it seems like it's a series that's still going.
Yeah, they went on with that, but like I just think it's that for me is the most shameless copy of a game ever, since it's literally just a copy paste. Like I can't imagine this took more than a month to develop. If that. This probably took about as much time as us making our little multiplayer game and that little engine in like this year 7.
In Scratch, yep.
Yeah, that literally probably took about the same amount of time.
If you want to get into the topic of like companies taking other games and then ripping them off, one of the other famous examples like that is good old Atari, when they did their ports back in the Atari 2600 days, where they take an arcade game like Pac-Man and then just do a trash version of it at home.
There are so many Pac-Man iterations, it hurts.
Yeah. There's millions of Pac-Man iterations, and there's millions of Pac-Man clones.
Yeah, like they literally just changed Pac-Man to something else that eats little balls that you have to...
I mean, even then, Pac-Man itself has its own rip-off in Miss Pac-Man, which people say is better. But I'm not a big Pac guy.
Yeah,
or gal.
I can't... Last time I played Pac-Man, no shit, was probably 18 years ago.
I wouldn't be surprised, because
I used to have a thing like the old Sega controller you could plug into your TV that had like...
Oh, you had a plug and play?
I had the plug and play Sega controller back in like 2000.
Nice.
But I had like a little arcade looking like with like the stick
Yep,
and the
yep.
button, and I had like Bomberman, a racing game, Pac-Man, and all that stuff, like OG stuff, and I still have that. It's in my parents' attic somewhere. But it is in the old AV cables, which it's just why.
Yeah, it'll work on my CRT, but the CRT owning people are not very popular nowadays.
I mean, there are still AV ports in TVs. It's just they're just for show at this point, because nothing uses AV ports anymore. It's all HDMI.
Yeah, and even then, if you use the AV port, apparently the signal is still terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I play on my old Super Nintendo because I have Super Mario World from like 1994.
Wait, you own a Super Nintendo?
Yeah, it's right beside me. Actually, I still have the old controller and the cartridge.
I didn't know that.
I have the old cartridge for Super Mario World.
That's sick.
Because my mom bought it in a gas station in like I think it was 1998. That was when it came out. My mom bought it at a gas station the year it came out here, and I used to play it with. The first time I ever played Super Mario World, I was like 3. But yeah, so I still have that console. Me and my fiance played on it like last year. Still works, but now you can just use the port on Nintendo Switch.
Or other methods.
Yes. Or other methods, ROM hacking, which is illegal. Don't do it. Don't do it. Copyright.
No, don't do it. Would never encourage people to do that, to go to romhacking.net and download some really good ROM hacks. Don't do it.
Yeah. Desmume, G-Boy. We will not endorse ROM hacking of any kind.
No, never.
Please follow the link in the description. Alright, yeah. Moving on.
What's your next loaded one? Because
loaded? I don't think anything will be as loaded as the Gianna sisters for me, but another loaded one is like Paladins to Overwatch. It's loaded in the fact that no one can really tell who ripped off who, or if anyone ripped off anyone.
So you don't think it's like a...
they're very similar in playstyle. Very, very similar.
Yes.
Because both of them, ultimates, abilities, different types of guns. Like in Overwatch, you got people shooting space rock, you got people beaming, you got everything. Same in Paladins. But Overwatch came out in like May of 2016. Paladins came out in September of 2016. So the games would have been in development at the same time, but because Paladins is in the unfortunate situation of having come out second, it is always going to be the ripoff game, even though it I wouldn't think that it is, but at the same time I think so, because Overwatch was announced 2 years prior.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
Just because they were in development at the same time doesn't mean that the Paladins devs didn't look at those gameplay trailers and stuff and go, "Oh, we should put that in. That's good."
Yeah. But it's just like the thing is, like, the games came around the same time, and you could say probably Paladins devs probably took a lot of inspiration from Overwatch when they came out with their gameplay trailers. But I still think that, like, for me, I don't play Paladins, not by any stretch. I'm an Overwatch kid when it comes to that. Like, I have thousands of hours in Overwatch. But I still think Paladins kind of holds its own space in the genre, because same but different kind of thing. Because some of the gameplay in Paladins is different to Overwatch. Like, the game modes are different, so they're kind of they're holding their own space in the genre by not having the same gameplay, other than the hero gameplay. But the actual modes and what you have to do is different.
Whether Paladins did or didn't ever rip off Overwatch, whether they did look at the trailers and then go, "Oh, that's good, we should add that," or whether it is genuinely through the massive biggest coincidence out there, it just happened to be the same. Overwatch ended up winning in the end. Because no one talks about Paladins.
Also the fact that Overwatch came out under Activision Blizzard, which is one of the biggest companies in the entire world. Even though they don't have a load of games under their belt, they don't have a lot of IPs.
I mean, back then when Overwatch first came out, wasn't it still just Blizzard?
Blizzard was bought by Activision in 08, all the way back then.
What?
But
What? Okay, never
yeah,
mind.
Activision bought out Blizzard back in 08. But it didn't really become like Activision
fake
Blizzard
gamer.
until way later.
Hmm.
So, like, at the time, it was pretty much just known for Blizzard IPs like World of Warcraft and Diablo, which were the two mainstays. And then Hearthstone obviously came out, which is another huge esport for them in like at like BlizzCon. It's like the world championship and other stuff. And that has died. Yeah. But Overwatch is like their biggest one now because it has its own esports league, independent of Blizzard.
Yeah.
Like, I'm following the Overwatch league right now because they have their mid-season madness tournament. But I can segue this into a game that they both came after. TF2.
Yes, so you're saying that Overwatch is a spiritual successor to TF2.
And even if not a spiritual successor, it definitely has a lot of inspiration from TF2.
I guess should first just clarify what a spiritual successor even means. That it can be a case of either it's a heavy source of inspiration, or it's almost even just a remake of a game itself, but under a different developer, which is one example I'll get into eventually.
Yeah. But also, like, another one that I actually didn't even think of until just now is that Overwatch's probably biggest succession is Quake 2. Quake is almost every Overwatch pro that there is right now came from Quake. Like the hero in Overwatch, Pharah, is almost a carbon copy of a hero in Quake.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Same mechanics.
Okay,
So,
maybe then.
So I think Overwatch it's like a mixture between Quake and TF2. TF2 and playstyle, because TF2 also had like a payload style thing.
A lot of TF2 inspiration there. You have the different characters with different movement speeds and abilities and appearances.
But I think,
and then the payload style, like you said.
I think weapon style is more loaded on Quake, but ability style is more loaded on TF2.
Ability and movement style, yeah.
And the game modes are heavily inspired from TF2.
Yeah. Like wholesale.
Yeah. Because because the payload-esque type of thing with TF2, like, that's just a lot of
the payload, the objective, taking one.
King of the hill kind of thing. Like, that Overwatch has capture point, which is just go and cap 2 points. They have payload, and they have the hybrid, which is a capture point to unlock the payload and go, and then King of the hill.
Yeah, the one comparison I can make, because I've played both Overwatch and TF2, and I didn't like both Overwatch and TF2.
You don't like you don't like what it does to you.
Yes, exactly. Overwatch is, I don't get mad at games often, but Overwatch is one of the only games where I go 10 out of 10. My WoW account got hacked, smash keyboard mad.
Oh, you mean my WoW? My parents took away my WoW account, so I'm gonna shove a remote up my ass, guy.
Oh yeah, that guy too. Yeah, like that.
That is yeah.
I didn't like what Overwatch did to me, and then when I tried TF2, I reacted in exactly the same way. So that's proof to me that okay, yeah, it is a spiritual successor of it.
Yeah, like, at least for those, like, there was no legal action from anyone because they all knew what it was.
Well, yeah, because
and if there was going to be legal action, it would have happened long before the games came out because there were gameplay trailers long before they came out.
Yeah, because the game can be similar,
but different enough to hold the space.
But not like the Gianna sisters, where it's like, okay, this is just Mario Bros, but you change what it looks like.
Yeah.
They didn't release literally TF2 with its maps, but they just changed what the characters look like.
They changed the characters, the maps. Like, they took the game mode inspiration and, like, how it worked like that. but obviously gave the game its own personality,
Yeah.
pretty much. So you said that you had one you would get onto, one that you
Yes.
feel strongly about.
The one topic that I would potentially have a lot to say about in the spiritual successor vein is Stardew Valley to Harvest Moon. So this is a somewhat limiting example because I haven't played Harvest Moon, but from what people have said about Stardew Valley literally just is Harvest Moon, because there's a bit of history behind it. Harvest Moon, farming game. I wouldn't really call it a farming sim. It's a farming / dating sim almost. But it was on, like you mentioning the Super Nintendo. It started on the Super Nintendo, so it wasn't exactly the most in depth.
Yeah.
There were dating mechanics in it, I believe, but it's the most in depth it ever got was like, I give you bread. Oh, I want to marry you now. Okay.
If only life worked like that. You go, in my case, go up to my fiance and say, "Here is bread, marry me."
Here is cake. Here is beef. Okay, yes. So yeah, Harvest Moon started that way. People really loved it. Then I need to look up who made it so I don't slander the devs.
Oh yes, we wouldn't want to, give out fake news.
It came up with a song.
Huh.
What? Neil Young? That ain't it.
I doubt it.
Amicus? Really? Okay, and Xseed. That's the one that I wanted. Xseed.
Yeah.
Started on the Super Nintendo, then it moved to other platforms like the DS and stuff. So it was all very Nintendo focused, which is why its farming and its dating side were never that in depth. But as the series went on, the games apparently just got worse.
Oh.
Like it went from pixel art to then 3D and then like mobile 3D.
Ugh.
And then once it got to mobile, it was people like, okay, Harvest Moon is done. And it moved to a different dev. I think it moved to Xseed. So then eventually, Mr. Developer of Stardew Valley, Mr. Concerned Ape himself, Eric Barone is the name of the guy. He developed the game literally all on his own.
Oh.
He was like, I love Harvest Moon. I hate what they've done to it. So I'm going to make my own one.
Oh.
And then he did.
And then it just became infinitely more popular.
He made his own Harvest Moon, and then not only that, he surpassed Harvest Moon for people.
Yeah.
So it was the spiritual successor to Harvest Moon, but even then, it was like the spiritual surpasser.
I mean, literally, like, okay, when I played Destiny 2 in my clan of people, we had 5 guys who were like, we dubbed them the farmers. Because they would like sit 5 people in a call and just play Stardew Valley. It was one of them has 700 hours on Stardew Valley on Steam.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the thing with Stardew Valley for me. I hate farming games with an absolute passion. I cannot understand them. I hate farming in real life. I hate them in game. Everything. I hate farming. And yet Stardew Valley, I guess because that's not all it has. It has the dating sim side, which is much more fleshed out than the Harvest Moon games were, because they weren't limited to, you gotta be on Nintendo. So they're really well written and developed, but then there's also a dungeon where you can go do RPG, combat elements and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's way more expansive than Harvest Moon, and I've been curious about trying Harvest Moon, but it was never surpassed in the way that people talk about Stardew now.
I mean, it's just like, the reason you would go back and try Harvest Moon is just kind of like a curiosity of where where he drew it from.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Because all you need to see spiritual successor rise, you could almost even call it ripoff wise if he didn't make it better.
Yeah.
Because usually ripoffs are more in the this is the same but worse sense.
Yeah.
If you just look at a picture of Stardew Valley and then look at a picture of the original Harvest Moon, it's like, oh, this is the same.
Yeah.
It's the same camera angle and art style and everything. So yes, that's my one big example I have of spiritual successor is Stardew.
I have a controversial spiritual successor that you don't agree with.
Which one?
There are actually a lot of people that don't agree with it, but obviously the vast majority of gamers do agree. Is Fortnite being the spiritual successor to PUBG?
Okay, yeah. Well, let's get into this one.
I can say okay. The popular opinion, because I don't play either of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just know the culture around them, which is massive. Mm-hmm. Is that Fortnite took the formula of PUBG and made it more polished, more and better mechanically, and basically it just delivered a, not undeniably, but it became the more popular game.
Yeah, Fortnite, it started as your typical horde mode type game.
Yeah,
you have a base, you gotta defend it from zombies,
and then they made it into the battle.
It existed like that for like a year.
Yeah,
and no one really talked about it. They said, I mean, it's fine, I guess. PUBG came out, was massive. Then mysteriously, a year later, Fortnite is now a battle royale.
Yeah. And that's a funny thing, because like some say, oh, it's not a ripoff or a successor, but I mean, it's Fortnite definitely just took the formula and just did it. Obviously, the art style is vastly different.
Is that it qualifies as both?
Yeah.
It started as a ripoff because it just took PUBG is popular, we'll do that,
yeah.
and then it surpassed it.
And then it just monumentously succeeded it.
Yeah.
Not that, and this doesn't mean that PUBG is not a good game.
Well, PUBG is still very big, apparently, but you don't see people talk about it anymore. It's not the same way. Yeah. Culturally dominant as Fortnite.
Fortnite took literally, like, the year it came out, it just took the world by storm.
Yeah.
In the gaming world, anyways. And
I mean, Epic Games as a store and as a dev themselves, they were made by Fortnite. Yeah. Because they've existed for years.
But Fortnite just exploded them into the developing scene.
Now everyone knows who they are.
After Fortnite came out, the PUBG devs sued Epic Games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They sued it after its release, and nothing. And they did settle. I think they settled it out of court. But I mean, Fortnite is the most popular battle royale game to ever grace so far.
It was somewhat more justified at the time, because when Fortnite first launched, it was almost nothing like it is now. It didn't have all the wacky skins and the crossover stuff and the vehicles and all that.
What also set it apart was the speed, like people becoming adept at speed building.
Yeah.
Like when you watch people build now as compared to the beginning, like people are just whipping their mouse around, like building shit. And, like they're like, oh, gunfight, time to build a tower immediately while I'm shooting him.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, so like that is my opinion on Fortnite and all that. And then obviously Apex, EA was like, hey, we should also make a battle royale game.
Which I'm kind of mad that Apex got big. Because I really like Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
But
I don't have much of an opinion on them. I played Apex more than I played one game of Fortnite, and I've played probably 10 hours of Apex total.
I didn't know you played that much Apex.
I played it with my cousin and my friend in threes. That's it.
Yeah, the main turn off for me is I didn't like how Apex looked, because it went too far. It went into the mobile game type of designs and color schemes where it's just like, we turn that shit to 100.
Yeah.
Make that the brightest green, the brightest purple, and then it just looks gaudy. But the main thing was that you couldn't play it solo. So I was bitter about that because I played PUBG solo and you couldn't play Apex solo.
Yeah.
And I think you still can't.
No, I don't think so. I think it's still just squads of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Which,
those are my main opinions on that. It's
moving on to ripoffs, the one I want to hear about is Saints Row to GTA.
Oh yeah.
Because you brought it up, and I was gonna comment on it. You said wait, so no, I want to hear this.
Okay, yeah. I wanted to wait to get I wanted to hear your fresh takes on it that I haven't thought of on podcast.
Yes.
Because because Saints Row is an old game.
The original.
Yeah, it's an old
Yes.
game. It was based, like, people were saying it ripped off like Vice City and San Andreas. It came out like right around that time. I think so.
Let me just double check. Oh no. You're just going to launch me into a freaking new podcast topic on its own, because the recent Saints Row is coming out, and it's just called Saints Row. So now I have to go and give in Saints Row Original.
But, oh yeah, releasing a new game with just the base title again.
Yes.
But yeah, for me,
Freaking
it's like,
Doom did it.
yeah.
Whatever. I'll save that. So the original Saints Row apparently came out in 2006.
Yeah, and Vice.
Yeah.
It's around the San Andreas time.
Yeah, because GTA 4 came out in 2008.
Yeah, and I think San Andreas came out in like this is like Vice City and San Andreas, like 03, 5 kind of thing.
Yeah, it was 04.
04.
So
yeah,
in that frame.
So it came out right in that frame. Yeah, but it's like, because there's diehard fans of both franchises, unironically. Again, why people would like Saints Row better is beyond me, but they exist. They exist, and it's okay. It's okay. You can have your own opinions. I'm not slandering you. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you are a little bit wrong. And that's okay.
One of my favorite quotes I've ever heard is that people can have their own opinions, and they can be wrong, and that's fine.
Yep. Whereas, like, GTA, while GTA obviously pulled from games before itself, it was an established franchise before the first ever Saints Row game.
Yeah.
And it is arguable. Okay, this is my funnest one from GTA 5. I think GTA 5 made 2 solid jabs at Saints Row. The falling
GTA made jabs?
The hallucination sequences. Falling through the sky for 5 minutes, and the worst one, Michael shooting aliens. Hallucinating aliens, because what is Saints Row other than just aliens?
In Saints Row 4?
Yeah. I mean, Saints Row 4 also had the dubstep gun, which is just, that's a whole other bag. I can't
I gotta...
Because, not even that they were, like, I think they were just kind of, like, sly mockeries at it.
Because Saints Row 4 was the one with the aliens and the superpowers, so that would make sense with the flying around and the aliens.
Yeah. But did it come out after or before?
Okay, so Saints Row 4 came out in August of 2013. GTA 5 came out in September of 2013.
So there's a no, not really, but
no,
it's an uncanny coincidence that they would make those kind of joking missions.
To me, the aliens was just a reference to San Andreas.
Yeah, could be.
Because they referenced the Bigfoot conspiracy in GTA 5, which was also a San Andreas thing.
But like the gameplay loop of the older Saints Row games and the older GTA games kind of similar. Like,
yeah.
Just at Saints Row you have fucking superpowers at the end in Saints Row 4.
There was a trend around that early to mid 2000s range when GTA 3 got big, and especially San Andreas, where there was the original Saints Row, there was True Crime, where it was the GDA clones.
But there's also for me it's an unpopular opinion. I just kind of jotted it down because it's an opinion that's out there.
Yeah,
that for GTA Online, because the stuff you can do in GTA Online becomes more and more ludicrous, kind of.
Yes.
In the tasks that you can do, which some people think it's heading, because Saints Row has always been ludicrous in what you can do.
Well,
or Saints Row
that's the
4 specifically.
thing.
But then they're like, it's moving a little bit more into Saints Row territory in the amount of stuff you can do.
That's the... So the 2 points with that. Saints Row being ridiculous. So the Saints Row 3 is where it started to get the more wacky, goofy kind. Because people liked Saints Row 2 because it was still kind of goofy, but it did take itself more seriously.
And and Saints Row 4, they just jumped off the wagon.
Yeah, so Saints Row 3, and especially 4, where they then got superpowers, that's where you can't give the GTA clone or rip-off game term anymore, because it's become its own thing at that point.
Because mostly the original Saints Row and Saints Row 2, they are more of the GTA rip-off style games.
Yeah.
Where they're taking themselves seriously enough that they want to be that kind of game, and then they just kind of run with it. But then people said the more ludicrous you can get in GTA 5, it's moving more into Saints Row territory, which they don't like. Again, arguably. It's in heavy quotation, arguably.
To an extent. I do see the arguments with like the flying bike. Because in Saints Row you could get a flying bike like that. So
that's what I mean. Like the more ludicrous vehicles you get, all that stuff. But again, I say I don't 100% agree with the take.
I've never agreed with that take at all, because in San Andreas you could get a jetpack.
Okay, you could cheat code a jetpack. You could cheat code a jetpack.
No, you got it as a story mission.
Yes, but more than likely
when you went to Area 51 with aliens.
Yes, but
you don't need to see it. You don't need to say any more than that. It does get ridiculous, but it's no more ridiculous than GTA has always been. Yeah. But interestingly, to get back to the point about if GTA 5 was digging at Saints Row made digs at GTA 4.
Yeah.
Do you know about those?
I don't remember them. It's a long time.
They had an ad where it was to show the activities in the game.
Yeah.
And they have some activity where you throw people into like a wood chipper or something. Because Saints Row.
Yeah.
And they had an ad where it was like, hey, what do you want to do for fun? Do you want to go bowling with your cousin? Or do you want to throw people in a wood chipper? It's like, gee, I wonder what game they're referencing.
Hey, Nico, let's go bowling.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a fun story here. Just a side tangent on the whole Nico, let's go bowling thing. 1 minute tangent. In the Spider-Man game, this is okay.
Which one?
The one that came out for PS4.
Oh, okay,
that one. Insomniac game.
Another case of the frickin' name.
Yeah. But you climb up to a window where there are some thieves standing, and if you sit and listen, you can hear them talking to Roman on the phone. They make a thing to GTA 4.
Really?
Yeah, they make a specific jaunt for GTA 4 where they're talking to Roman.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That makes me want to play it even more.
I was watching a whole YouTube video of just Easter eggs. It's funny.
Mm.
But yeah, other than that, like Saints Row and GTA similar, but moved apart later on, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or Saints Row moved into its own sphere later.
Whereas the most recent Saints Row is coming out now with just the name Saints Row.
Again,
and it's going in the somewhat more serious route again. So,
oh, no. So hey, we can bring this up again later on when that's come out.
Yeah, maybe it'll go in the rip-off route again. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see it or play it. We'll have to see or play it.
Well, I'm not interested.
I'm not interested in either. I stopped after Saints Row 3.
I don't like the shooting in Saints Row 3, and people who've played the most recent ones say, yeah, the shooting feels like Saints Row 3.
So
like, well, it sucks then.
So that's a solid selling point.
Yeah.
Like one game, like the ones that I have the most experience on, like play-to-play wise, is Dante's Inferno and God of War.
This is in the rip-off sense.
Yes.
Not the spiritual successor sense.
Hell no. I mean, okay, not hell no. Like Dante's Inferno is kind of its own thing. It came out not long after God of War.
People really like Dante's Inferno, which was really surprising to me.
Dante's Inferno and God of War 3 came out almost exactly at the same time. Which was real. Almost.
Gotta verify this.
I say that, but again, I could be wrong.
I think Dante's Inferno was a good... Oh, great. Okay, it almost came up with the frickin' poem. Ooh, you're right. Wait, no, this is fake.
What?
This is saying it came out before.
When did it say it came out?
This says Dante's Inferno, the game, came out in February of 2010, and then that God of War 3 came out in March of 2010.
Yeah, but it ripped off God of War 2.
I always thought that Dante's Inferno was like 5 years after God of War 3.
Oh no, it came out in 2010, yeah. I bought it when it came out.
Okay.
I bought it in April, I think, of 2010.
Wow. Okay.
But here's the problem. Dante's Inferno was like a mixed. It was a dual development with EA and Visceral Games.
Yes.
And it was their obvious attempt at the hack and slash adventure game kind of thing. And honestly, Dante's Inferno is like it is just like the gameplay wise, it's just God of War. You collect souls as well. You do that in God of War. When you kill stuff, you collect little red orbs that you use to upgrade your stuff. In Dante's Inferno, you collect souls to upgrade your stuff. The only thing is, God of War has more expansive lore and story. Dante's Inferno is obviously it's just doing the same kind of thing, just with the 7 layers of hell, obviously. Like, you go through greed, lust, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember I was 13 years old. No, 14 years old. No, 13. I was turning 14 that year. But a 13-year-old playing a boss that shoots small babies with daggers out of her nipples. Her nipples looked like mouths, and they were the size of the screen. And they were spitting out little infants that were holding knives in both hands that were chasing you.
That description already is make me gonna have trouble sleeping tonight.
Yeah, it was monumentally nightmarish. But the thing, like Dante's Inferno, like it was a good game. People liked it, and I liked it too. I finished it.
You liked it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. God of War was way better. But also because for me, like those games are like story driven for me because the gameplay gets very repetitive. So for me, it's like how interested am I in the story?
That's interesting because I always thought you really liked the gameplay of God of War.
Oh, I do. I really enjoy it, but obviously it doesn't reinvent itself throughout the game. I like God of War for the puzzle. Demo. Yeah, I like puzzle elements in God of War. Because you had timed puzzles where you had to like learn it and then go through again and again until you got it down to like the second. And Dante's Inferno just didn't have that. It was just kind of go through and just kind of, take in the scenery kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but also Dante's Inferno did fall flat really quickly because God of War 3 came out just like a month later.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense then.
So all the fans of God of War ended up going to that rather than finishing or playing Dante's Inferno.
So EA banked big time on, hey, don't worry guys, you don't got a God of War, we made one. And then a month later it's like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
That's God of War 3.
Yeah, so like Dante's Inferno, like gameplay was pretty much the same. So I enjoyed the gameplay of it. Kratos spinning his 2 blades around, Spartan war blades, whatever, and chain blades. They were cool. And Dante just had his big scythe that he was just ripping around that could extend like a spine.
Because I played the demo of Dante's Inferno and I didn't like God of War. I remember you made me play God of War 2 once.
Yeah. One of my all-time favorite games.
I just did not like God of War.
Yeah.
But even I could tell playing the Dante's Inferno demo, they're like, oh, this is just God of War, but worse.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's pretty much it on that front. Like again, no action taken from either one because it wasn't similar enough, obviously, to warrant a lawsuit. Like you can make games of similar styles, but you could tell what Dante's Inferno was trying to be.
Because hack and slashes have existed for years.
Yeah,
they
existed.
Devil
long
May
before.
Cry.
Yeah,
you got Metal Gear Rising. You got Bayonetta.
They existed long before God of War came out.
Yeah.
So it's like you could tell which hack and slash game it was trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so moving on to spiritual successors.
Yes.
Which did you want to tackle here? Probably one of the bigger changes to a game was Angry Birds to Crush the Castle.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because it's a online free-to-play game.
Because Crush the Castle was one of your classic miniclip.com games. And it was also a technical phone game as of a time.
Mm-hmm.
But Angry Birds came out actually. I think Fun Story, they came out not too long apart.
Oof.
Yeah, your mic doesn't pick up the keyboard, so I'm not gonna whim people with my speedy fingers on my keyboard because
so Angry Birds came out in 2009.
Yeah.
Oh, Crush the Castle. Okay, I was gonna give in Slay the Spire. Crush the Castle came out in 2009.
Yeah, I think Crush the Castle came out before.
Ooh, yes. Crush the Castle came out in April. Then Angry Birds came out in December.
Yeah, so again, enough.
That's prime
ripoff.
Spiritual successor.
Yeah, prime spiritual successor ripoff space.
Yeah, it kind of crosses over into both.
Yeah, but yeah, because they say it like when they would title this, it would be like one of the most popular mobile games of all time is also coincidentally a clear ripoff game of something that came out just before it. But the thing Crush the Castle lacked, it was exactly the same gameplay loop. You launch boulders to break obstacles. The Angry Birds are the boulders. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
But it had no personality. Crush the Castle. It was just a dark. Yeah. Throw a boulder at the towers and see what sticks. Angry Birds.
It was just a generic medieval type aesthetic.
And
I don't even remember what the game looked like if I try and picture it in my brain.
Like for me, like I just thought like it lacks atmosphere and personality to make you remember it. Kind of, it's just like a one-off, go on miniclip and play it kind of game, and then go away again. But
looking at pictures of it, it's very miniclip.
Yeah, like it has no atmosphere whatsoever.
No, it is just as generic as you get medieval, whereas Angry Birds.
It took that and flavored it up with the animation and personality and the different birds.
Mm-hmm.
And
the different bird types, yeah.
And Angry Birds obviously evolved into movies. Which is a topic
Angry
for another podcast.
Angry Birds really grew from the this is like the mini clip game, but like an actual full game.
And it exploded.
Okay, we're adding DLC to it now.
There's Angry Birds 2.
Why are you doing Star Wars?
Yeah, I played the Star Wars one.
Oh, was it?
I don't remember. It's just there's so many. There's Angry Birds 2. There's Angry Birds Rio. There's Angry Birds Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, they made the Angry Birds Evolution. It's like you go into levels and you drag, and then they slip across the map and deal damage to the pigs and stuff. I played that a lot. But other than that, like Angry Birds is again just a classic example of just taking a game and just breathing new life into it.
Because in a somewhat similar example, you had the Trials series.
Yeah.
The Ubisoft motorbike one.
Yeah.
Which itself started as a mini clip game.
Yeah, I remember we played it way back then.
Yeah, we played it a buttload. And then it became its own game, not owned by Ubisoft yet.
Yeah.
Which I played the demo of that a lot because it was a 3D game. And then, suddenly they come out with Ubisoft owns it. They make a full game out of it, and it becomes massive.
Yeah, then they got like Trials Fusion, all these other Trials games.
Which, I don't know if you could even call that a spiritual successor when it's in the same...
Yeah, I think that's just in
same
the
name.
Yeah, same name. It just... you probably either got bought out by Ubisoft.
Yeah, they just got bought out.
They just bought the base. They just bought the IP, basically.
And then they went the Ubisoft route.
And did what Ubisoft
They made a
do.
good game, and then it ran into the ground.
Yeah. They did the Ubisoft thing and took a good thing and just made it worse over time.
Yep. Until eventually the Trials Fusion one that had one of the worst Nintendo Switch ports ever.
Yeah.
I played a mobile-looking game ran at like 10 FPS.
Yeah, I played Fusion on Nintendo Switch.
Really?
Yeah, it was horrifying.
Oh my god.
Well, yeah, I only have one more example of legal action taken against the game of Simpsons Road Rage.
Yes, and this is for the Ripoff case.
And that was a ripoff of Sega's Crazy Taxi.
Which Crazy Taxi, I mean, classic game, everyone knows it.
Yeah, and Sega they launched a full-on lawsuit against the developers of Road Rage. Like they did not pull punches because they made accusations of ripping off everything about the game from start to finish and just put a coat of paint over it. But also, Sega held patents on the gameplay style. Not just the game, but the style of gameplay. They held patents on that, so no one could make the same kind of gameplay.
Well, yeah. This was Dreamcast era Sega before they completely collapsed. So yeah, that sounds about right, that they'd have patents.
Yeah. But that's another lawsuit that was solved out of court before it went that far. So I'm pretty sure they paid a handsome fine. But it was still released.
It
was still released, obviously.
People say it's a really good game.
Yep. I mean, it's kind of...
you never hear about that lawsuit anymore.
Nope, that lawsuit. I had to search because obviously I was doing research, so different examples here. But that one, when I came across it, that was a deep thing in the description. And I went and searched other places to verify, which it is true. It says it other places.
Very, very thorough.
Yes. I don't want to fill you guys with a crock of shiz. But also, we are not, let me just reiterate, we are not an educational nor factual podcast, nor should you take us as such.
No, we are professional unprofessionals.
We're professionally, unprofessionally opinionated about a lot of things.
I mean, just for the fact that we had to Google the release date of like almost every one of the things.
Yes, just proves exactly how professional we are.
Your final example for the spiritual successors is League of Legends.
One of the
being inspired by Dota.
One of the biggest games of all time. Let's just get that out on the table. League of Legends is probably the biggest esport of all time. Mm-hmm. And it's a spiritual successor to Dota. Dota, again, good game in its own right in that genre, and it created the MOBA genre. Because it was an add-on to another game, and then it just became its own thing, and then Dota 2 came out. Or, as it is fully known, Defender of the Ancients.
Yes.
Which no one actually ever says. It's a long name.
No.
Dota just has a better ring. But like when LoL came out, it just exploded, and it's still going. It has over like 7-8 years. It's had one of the highest viewerships on Twitch, never wavering. Mm-hmm. It has one of the highest viewerships on esports of all time. It actually I think it has the highest esports viewership of all time.
The game is ultra famous for being a famous game, for being one of the most toxic games out there.
It's famous for just the toxicity alone.
And for the developers themselves being very toxic.
Yeah.
Or should I say the company, not
Riot.
Not the devs themselves. Riot themselves.
It is Riot Games, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Riot Games came out with most recently Valorant.
Yes, which itself was also
I
very
played
big.
my first game of Valorant the other day, last week with my cousin, and in the first game we played, one of the guys in the open lobby was, "Please uninstall the game, you dick." And then my cousin was like, "Can I please play the game?" He's like, "You can suck my dick."
Lovely.
And my cousin just kept egging him on and then my cousin did like a 1v5 ace, and then he just shut up, and then he just didn't want to talk anymore. Like he was talking shit until you did bad. That was the same as League of Legends. It's a riot game. What can you say?
I think from all of this topic of ripoff games and spiritual successors, I think what we can see, if you want to bring out a thesis statement to tie up the whole thing in a neat little bow.
How very university of you.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Is that it's a very fine line. You can have a situation where a game is a ripoff of a gameplay style, but say in the case of Stardew Valley or for Overwatch, they can arguably do it better than the thing that they're ripping off.
Yeah. And even in that case, it's not a super clear rip-off. It's more inspiration than it is rip-off.
Yeah.
But inspiration in itself also creates spiritual succession.
Yes, exactly.
When it's similar enough in the inspiration, so you can see where it came from. Yeah.
Then you just have the literal rip-off examples like Gianna Sisters.
Yeah, I still can't get over that one, and we will probably have to put up a side-by-side of that.
Oh, yeah. That is just ROM hack levels of undisputable. This is just the same game.
That is just an officially released ROM hack at this point.
This is no spiritual successor of, we liked Mario, but we made our own thing. No.
This is going into Scratch and just changing the costume.
Yeah, exactly. I guess if there's anything else to add to this topic, you think?
I don't think so. I think we've given out enough examples and variations on how you could consider things ripoffs, successors, or just kind of stand alone in the same space of genre.
Yes, I think the main thing that we have learnt today is that Fortnite is kind of a big game. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Fortnite, kind of big. And League of Legends just apparently here to stay forever. It will just apparently never die.
A world without League of Legends is a world that cannot exist.
True, but it would be a world worth living in.
A world without Angry Birds, Fortnite, or League of Legends?
You know,
I'm very curious to see what that world is like.
Yeah, that would just bring all the toxic people over to my games, and I would prefer it not to be. So you are correct.
That is a good point.
You're probably correct. A world cannot exist without League of Legends to suck up all the toxicity in the world.
It's the toxic sponge.
Yes. But yeah.
Well, I think on that note,
let's sign out.
Yeah, that's enough. Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.